So, just the other day, Warhorse made a few major announcements about the future of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They not only revealed the first expansion for the game and a ton of details about it, like when it's releasing and what new gameplay features it will bring, but they also announced that a massive change is coming to the combat system with the next update. A free update that will also add some other new content to the game, content that'll be available for everyone and is unrelated to the paid DLC. During these announcements, Warhorse also briefly talked about the possibility of things like jousting in KCD2, as well as fishing and camping, all of which is news we'll get to in just a second. Now, if you're wondering, all of this info comes from a long live stream Warhorse did. Much of it was just them playing the base game, messing around with mods and talking, but I combed through that entire stream and picked out everything interesting, everything new in terms of footage and info, so I could just condense it into a quick video for you guys. So, on that note, let's talk about the free update first, because even ignoring the DLC, the free update is pretty interesting on its own, for a few reasons. The first is the content I mentioned, which specifically is a new quest in the Nomad camp. Long story short, with Update 1.3, there will be two new types of horse races. One from an archer that will put you on timed courses where you'll need to hit enough targets to complete various challenges, and the other type comes from that black market horse dealer in the camp, and his races will just be the traditional type against other NPCs on a bunch of courses that cover the entire Trotsky region. Apparently, there's going to be some sort of disagreement on which type of race is better in the camp, and Henry has to help solve that dispute by proving himself with enough wins before ultimately picking a side. The story part of that quest will obviously be something you do just once, but from what I understand, the races themselves are infinitely repeatable, so they'll be a great way to level up archery and horsemanship. The devs also mentioned that crime is fully enabled during the races against the other NPCs, so if you want to just kill your opponents to win, well, as long as you don't get caught, that'll work too. Now to move on, and before we get into the big combat change this patch brings, I do need to first take a quick minute to thank today's very fitting sponsor, which is the brand new dark fantasy action RPG, Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree, and well, I've played the entire game at this point. I like to actually play the games that want to sponsor the channel, and what I'll say is if what you want out of a game is a great story and fun combat, then Mandragora is something you should really check out. It's a fully voice-acted, exploration-driven adventure through a very, morally questionable world, let's say, one that presents you with choices, multiple endings, and also a combat system that lets you do just about whatever you want. You're in control. You create your character, you choose your class, your weapons, your spells, everything, really. And throughout the game, your character evolves alongside you as you discover new equipment, beat new bosses, and earn new powers, and as the story moves down a darker and darker path. Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree is out now on just about everything, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, GOG, the Epic Game Store even, so if interested you can check it out using the link in the description, which helps out the channel a ton and gets you a game well worth playing. Okay, back to the news. The next update is not only going to bring a new quest to KCD2, it's also going to change the existing game pretty significantly. During their live stream, Warhorse said that they've spent a lot of time since the last update completely rebalancing the combat in the second half of the game, so in the Kuttenberg region. If you happen to remember, my biggest and really only major issue from my launch review of KCD2 was that it just gets extremely easy when there's still a lot of game left to play, and from what Warhorse said on their livestream, the decision to rebalance Kuttenberg was based on a ton of player data that was telling them the very same thing, that the combat just became trivial for most players after a certain point, and certainly by the time they hit the second map. So, starting with the next update, which again is Update 1.3, Warhorse have made enemies much stronger in the Kuttenberg region. They gave them better armor, stronger weapons, and harder hitting attacks, and what's more is that they've also done some serious work balancing the economy. According to the livestream, starting with Update 1.3, enemies in that second map will no longer drop top-tier items left and right. That'll be a much rarer occurrence, so if you really want the best armor in the game, you'll probably need to buy it, and you'll also need to save up because Warhorse have also raised the prices of the best equipment, so you actually have something to work towards, which in my opinion is a great thing. I know in my first playthrough, I got to the second map, immediately bought the best armor you could from a merchant in Kuttenberg because I already had way more than enough money, and from that point forward, I had nothing to work towards in terms of improving my equipment, so almost all of the money I earned for the last 60, 70 hours of playing was just meaningless. I had nothing to spend it on, so oftentimes I'd just throw all of my loot into storage instead of selling it because it was faster and the merchants in the Kuttenberg area had so little money compared to what I had to sell. I mean, half the time single items in my inventory would be worth more than the richest merchant in the city even carried in terms of cash, so if I wanted to sell it, I'd either have to give them a huge discount or just trade for a bunch of things I didn't need. Speaking of that problem though, I didn't bring it up for no reason, you'll probably be happy to hear that update 1.3 is finally going to fix it. During their livestream, Warhorse said they've given merchants throughout the entire game more money, but especially in Kuttenberg. They mentioned that those merchants were specifically targeted, which again makes a lot of sense because selling things there is very tedious currently. Lots of skipping time and waiting for money to refresh. Let's move on from the free update though and get to the DLC, which by the way is releasing near the middle of this month, May, that's confirmed, so just 2 to 3 weeks away. And from what was said on the stream, that update we've been talking about will be coming out either on the very same day or close to it. Anyway, DLC 1 will be called Brushes with Death, and in addition to gameplay, Warhorse shared a few important details about it. First off, the DLC is about an artist with a very strange past, an obsession with his work and a fascination with death. And one thing that was mentioned is that his interests get very dangerous for Henry. Now, unfortunately, one slight bummer is that Warhorse said a few different times that this first expansion is going to be the smallest of the 3 that are planned. The others that are coming later were referred to as big, whereas I guess they aimed a little smaller with this first one because they've had a lot of bug fixing work on their plate these past few months, not to mention the hardcore mode that came out a few weeks ago that I'm currently working on a video for, doing an all negative perks playthrough, every single one of them, and, well, that's been, you'll see, I suppose. Still though, despite Warhorse saying that the first DLC is a smaller one, they did confirm the story takes Henry across both maps. Apparently you can begin the DLC the second Henry is cut loose after the prologue, but eventually it takes him into Trotsky Castle and then to Kuttenberg, so areas you'd need to progress the main story to reach. This main character of the expansion though, the painter whose name is Master Vojta, does bring with him a new gameplay feature because he can paint your shield for you. Warhorse showed this off a lot in the stream. You can now paint any shield in the game almost any way you like. You can choose the color, the pattern, everything you'd expect, plus you can also add a ton of symbols that Henry/you can unlock from doing quests, and I guess they went back into the base game and added a lot of these as rewards for non-DLC quests, so if you already completed the game like me, then you'll have a ton of symbols unlocked the second you download the DLC. They also mentioned that some of the symbols just unlock for visiting places, like when you reach the hole-in-the-wall pub outside Kuttenberg, you'll get the butt trumpet symbol for your shield, if you want it, which I'd assume most of you do. Warhorse also fielded a lot of questions about other DLC content, things people wanted, things people are asking for, and I will say they gave some interesting answers. When asked about jousting eventually being added, Warhorse said that it's something that's on their mind, although they also said it's a very hard thing to implement properly, and to not expect it soon if they ever get around to it. They were also asked about adding fishing and camping to the game, 2 features I see requested a lot, and again they said both are on the list, things they're thinking about, although neither are anywhere near a top priority. I will say I found that answer particularly interesting because I remember during one of the KCD2 events I was lucky enough to attend before the game came out, that same question was asked, and at the time, it was a hard no, that's not happening, compared to now where the answer was more in the vein of, we're considering it even if it's just a thought at the moment. Also, and I think this one will make a lot of you happy, Warhorse addressed the fact that you can't go into any of the churches in KCD2, which is something a lot of people complained about because you could in KCD1, and it stuck out like a sore thumb that you couldn't enter any church in KCD2. Anyway, Warhorse said that the lack of church interiors is very high on their list of community grievances, and that DLC 3 in particular is going to please a lot of people that have that complaint. Now, finally, and to wrap this video up, Warhorse said that they don't have any additional DLC planned past the ones that have already been announced. But they are working with some other company to explore telling other KCD stories, and they specifically mentioned Godwin, Istvan Toth, and also Henry's father, who, as we know from both games, had a pretty interesting past himself. It sounds like this company they're working with does comics, and I know I'd be interested in checking those out if they ever got around to it. There was a KCD1 comic that was actually pretty good. It was a short little prequel telling the immediate backstory to the first game, what led to the raid on Skalitz. That is all from me today though, so if you enjoyed this video and want to keep seeing KCD content from me, consider leaving a like. It really helps my videos get out there. YouTube just puts a lot of stock in likes for whatever reason. And if you want to see my stuff in your sub box, consider subscribing. I think you guys will enjoy the next couple of videos I have coming. There's a reason I haven't posted for like a month. Anyway, thanks for watching. If it caught your interest, be sure to check out Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree using the link in the description. And that's all. See ya.